To Ben Brown. He's at the Supreme Court for us right now. Ben.
Yeah, Simon, we've had 3 days of engrossing, enthralling hearings and submissions here at the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, where the 11 Supreme Court justices have to decide whether or not the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, broke the law, acted unlawfully when he advised the Queen to suspend Parliament, to prorogue Parliament for 5 weeks. And they have gone off to consider their judgment. As you say, we should get it early next week. Lady Hale, the president of the 11 justices, said none of this is easy. We'll do this work as soon as we humanly can. In other words, reach their judgment. And it was very interesting as we heard the closing submissions from both sides of the argument. Lord Pannick saying that effectively Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, by suspending Parliament, advising the Queen to suspend Parliament, had stopped Parliament from scrutinising the government. But Lord Keane, who was representing the government in his closing remarks, said that the 11 Supreme Court judges must not go into this political minefield, must not stray into forbidden territory. Let's get this report now from our correspondent, Richard Lister.
It seems at times like an argument without end. But those who gathered outside the Supreme Court today, intent on either stopping a coup or stopping the EU, knew that the arguments inside at least would end today. But not before one former Conservative Prime Minister had the opportunity to offer a damning assessment of the actions of Boris Johnson in suspending Parliament. His lawyer said it was inescapable that the real reason was to avoid scrutiny of Brexit, and the government had not told the truth.
The reasons set out in the documents put before the court by the Prime Minister can't be true and complete reasons for the decision.
He said suspending Parliament was motivated by Mr Johnson's political interests. The court also heard from Raymond McCord. He warned that Brexit could threaten the Good Friday peace agreement.
In many ways, Mr McCord speaks for the silent majority in Northern Ireland, who want a peaceful and prosperous future, which can really only be based on the Good Friday Agreement and that delicate constitutional settlement which has been achieved.
The lawyer for Mr McCord outlined ways in which Brexit could affect Northern Ireland, but the justices intervened repeatedly, saying that was not what they were there for.
So many people are listening to you, and they will hear these points, these general points about Brexit and its effect on Northern Ireland, and it may come to an entirely the wrong conclusion, namely that this is what we are looking at. Now, don't abuse our politeness. And don't abuse Lady Hale's patience.
This is the issue at hand, whether Boris Johnson asked the Queen to suspend Parliament to stop MPs scrutinising his Brexit process.
The length of the prorogation was motivated, or at least strongly influenced, by the Prime Minister's wish to prevent scrutiny by Parliament, because he regarded Parliament as a threat to the successful implementation of his policies.
But it doesn't prevent accountability beyond Parliament, where again the executive will be questioned and held to account, whether by the public, the media, or indeed during a party political conference season at each of those conferences, no doubt.
Courts in Scotland and England came to different conclusions about whether the suspension of Parliament was lawful. The Supreme Court must now decide which of them was right. Richard Lister, BBC News.